homework and ideas, closing ceremonies.
It's time for them
It's
to turn
usually
off their
different.
111 signs.
There's a lot of special things happening this year. And we're going to have a way to respond. We lost a hero. I heard Woody talk about that. But Libby, my niece, is here. She's been with First for her whole life. She lost a dad. I lost a brother. Ruth is here. She lost her husband. My mom lost her son. The whole First community lost a great resource. He was a mentor, he was a volunteer, he was a judge. He was somebody everybody inspired by. So he's not with us, but to make sure First we'll never lose him, we made a scholarship, or it came in Memorial Scholarship, with some very generous support from some great people at First. We're able this year to give 3 scholarships to 3 incredible young ladies, all of them women this year. The goal was very simple. You had the opportunity to tell us why you had the passion and drive, specifically to develop a career in medicine or biomedical engineering, and to follow in my brother's footsteps. The 3 winners have their name up here somewhere, I hope. I'm very proud of them. There they are. As you know, I never let a good opportunity to give out homework go by. So already yesterday, the 3 of them helped us come up with their assignments. They're going to be manning a booth here, starting today, to help answer questions about the scholarship. They're going to help build a network of alums to grow this scholarship. And the 3 of them have agreed they're going to help read all the nominations that we get for next year. Because a whole lot of people spent a whole lot of time, including my mom, this year, and we expect even more next year. You have to help me a little here. It's not an easy transition from that idea to one that I believe is very related. Because the one thing that has always driven me is the fact that life is so short. And Bart's passing just gives me even more urgency. My whole life, every time I thought of something good and important to do, I wanted to do it now. We started First when I saw a need to help a whole generation of kids find something important to do. I think, considering most people thought it was a crazy idea when we started, we got just about all of it right. We really did. But here's the rub. If it's really that good, and if it's really that right, and if it's having the kind of impact on all of you that I think we all know it is, it makes it even more important that we make it loud, that we get it out even faster. Mm-hmm. And while we did just about everything right, considering it was new and different, the part that we didn't get right is we're still, relatively speaking, in the broad culture of this country and the world, relatively speaking, 1 million people, a big number, not compared to 7 billion. Not when it's 1 million, the skill sets and the attitude to fix the world. It should be a much bigger number.
Exactly.
Right from the beginning, I said we've got to get the best technology companies to give us their role models and heroes, to show kids what life is really like, people that can solve problems and create the future. Now with more than 3,500 corporate sponsors, we have about the best role models and best mentors we could ever put in one organization. In fact, you go down the list of what it takes to make first, the best teachers, the best parents, students. We really got it all just about right. Even in the first year, when the competition wasn't this tough, I was already worried. I love the sports model because it gets to billions. But there are things about some sports and the way people play them that don't make me proud. So in the very first year, I said, we're going to have a chairman's award. I got a then very prestigious chairman, and every chairman since then, to give out an award at the end of the whole event, not to the one with the most points, but to the team, the sponsors, the kids, that best express the ideas and hopes and future of First. And now for 22 years, that clock moves. And within a year or two, I realized, well, there's got to be another really big award every year. Because I knew to grow, we need help from some organizations that can't win the Chairman's Award because they don't even have a team. Things like when we went to Disney and they opened up their whole community to us, or when Fred Smith said FedEx and move every package everywhere from all these schools that have no budgets for free. There were companies, there were individuals that were doing so much to help us scale up that we said, we'll give them the Founders Award. Remember, one of our rules is you get what you celebrate. So from the beginning, we have a clock every year and it moves. The Chairman's Award. And we have another clock and it moves. Founders Award. And by the way, my obsession with time is pretty obvious. It's not a coincidence. I build clocks. And I want the winner each year to see time is moving. And we have to urgently grow. Because the world's in a race between all sorts of catastrophes and technical expertise. And whether it's environmental issues, healthcare issues. We can't let catastrophe win. So time is critical. While we have these awards that recognize our great sponsors and our great everything we do, and then within a very few years, I forgot what it was, a couple of years after that, I realized if we don't find a way to celebrate, especially with a really big award, all the mentors that are pouring their personal time into this, we're losing something. And we convinced one of my heroes, sort of an adopted dad, Bill Murphy, sponsor the Woody Flowers Award, representing all the great educators. So we were covering all the bases. We were celebrating all the right stuff. But relative to other things in our culture, it's still the best kept secret. So this year, maybe with the urgency of Art not being here, I decided no more Mr. Nice Guy. No more little homework assignments. Get the press here. Get an article. Get the word out. I decided we're going to have another big clock. It's the middle one. We learn. We can add important new things, but we didn't do as well as we should have for 22 years. We're going to have a new award. The Make It Loud Award. Well, how are we going to do that? Well, you see, a couple of years ago, I got lucky. Maybe luck catches up to people that work hard. I got a call from a guy
Will.i.am.
who knows how to make things loud. Got a call from a guy who said, Dean, I live the world of entertainment. I get Grammy Awards. He explained that he understands the importance of science and technology. He couldn't do what he does without it. And by the end of our first conversation, he said, what can I do to help you? I said, my problem is we have this incredible group of people from every corner of technology, education. We don't have the entertainment industry behind us. And it is such a powerful piece of our culture. Unless we get them, we're going to remain the best kept secret. So this country can't afford that. So he said to me, okay,
It's not popular anymore. It didn't make much money.
I'll come to your event.
You gotta make that.
And I said, well, actually, Will, because you all know I'm kind of a bashful guy.
We have to have something.
I said, I understand you're going to do the
Even
halftime
though the first
show
document was big,
for that other
not
sport
many people know about it.
in Dallas. Consider it a warm-up. And then come do a halftime show in the future. And he said, okay. Besides doing that, he said, Dean, even a halftime show at the Super Bowl isn't for the people in the audience at the Super Bowl in the stands. It goes on TV, and it's seen by millions, hundreds of millions. So he said, we should do a show for television that we made from that concert. It cost millions to do that. And it was a new and different idea. And we all know how hard it is to get new and different ideas out there. So he said, well, I'll just buy the time and I'll put it on TV. And he did. I've never asked him to do something that he didn't do. A couple of months ago, I was honored. I was part of a group put together by the National Academy of Engineers, arguably the most prestigious engineering society in this country. And for a couple of years, they were working to put together a list and description of what is now called the grand challenges. And the goal, at the end of 2 years of developing that list, was to have, for the first time, a meeting of the National Academy of Engineers, the Royal Academy in Europe, and to bring in the Academy of Engineers from China. To have a meeting to discuss these 14 grand challenges. Obvious. Education was one of them. Science and technology education was one of the grand challenges, along with the environment, and food, and health, and energy.
Could you slowly grab?
The goal was to have a meeting, a couple of day meeting, to collaborate with all the world leaders in engineering, and discuss how to move forward on these critical issue.
I have to hold it. Just
Did it at the Royal Academy in London, and then 2 years from now in Beijing, and finally 2 years from then at the National Academy of London. I was asked to be on a few panels. One, John Hennessy, the president of Stanford University, on education, on energy. By the end of the first day in London, I thought, wow, it's not just FIRST that has the problem that nobody knows what's going on, the important issues of science and technology. Because there, in a room with busts of people like Michael Faraday and Cavendish, they're in a room that my heroes were hanging on the wall. Quietly, these world experts are having their academy meeting, the academy meetings, all three of them, quietly. The world is going by out front, nobody knows. I got back to my hotel room that night and I thought how bizarre that is. So I picked up my phone at 11 o'clock at night and I dialed Will, because I remembered he said he might be traveling to Europe. He answered the phone, and I said, Will, where are you? He says, I'm in London. What a coincidence. Well, so am I. We need your help. Tomorrow there's going to be a panel on science and technology education from the three major academies of science and technology in the world. You need to help. Okay. And without more than a few hours' notice, interrupting a schedule he had, he showed up. He got on stage on my panel. I could tell he was nervous, which it wouldn't have occurred to me, a guy that puts out millions and millions of tunes to the whole world would be nervous talking to a room full of engineers, quietly in the dark. And what he basically said to them was, when our academy gives out awards, we in the academy project them to the whole world. Everybody knows. Everybody gets involved. You people are dealing with the most important issues of our time. You have these big signs that say this is about global cooperation, and nobody knows it. And you know whose fault it is? It's the fault of the science and engineering community. You talk to each other, not to the world. Must have been a pretty good message, because right there, a little while later, we get an invitation to Buckingham Palace that evening to talk about science and technology. I was busy. Will.i.am. From here on in, we've had our 22 years. We not only know this works, we know FIRST is so critically important to the future that we can't afford to not put real resources, real focus on making it loud. We need the same expertise from the world of media and entertainment that we have been able to get from the world of technology. So we're going to start having an annual Make It Loud Award, and who could possibly be a better recipient than Will.i.am? Now here's the rub. He's about, literally this week, he's introducing his new album, his new CD. And like everything else I do, it's a day late, a nickel short, and I say, I got this great idea, we gotta do this. He plans his life probably a year in advance. Yesterday he was on the Ellen Show, tomorrow Katie Couric. They're both in LA. That's not my problem. I called Will and I said, you've done so much to help us. I know it might be a little inconvenient, but you gotta be there at opening ceremonies to show your continued support And then you got to be there at noon when the Dean's List students. And remember, it took me 18 years to get to that crowd. Again, all the other awards, but it took us 18 years to figure out we should have an army of students be knitting our network and our alumni together. And that's why we now have the Dean's List. But the Dean's List students will be the army, or the generals in your army will, that help us transform the world as we make it loud. But I asked Will to be here. There's never a convenient time for people that are busy, people in a rush. But Will knows how important this is, I think, to me and to the world, and I believe to Will, who is an incredible individual, an incredibly passionate, creative guy, a guy that cares all about the right issues. And he's been with us since the day I had that first conversation with him. And I am really, really proud now to say that Will is a great friend of first and of me, and he's here to collect the first Will.i.am Make It Loud Award. Will, come on up.
And then he's gonna say, oh, this is dope.
Wow, so first off, I have to say, you know, I travel around the planet a lot, doing my passion ever since I was 15 years old, and that's music. And I get a chance to see people from all walks of life, whether it's Mongueta in Brazil, or DF in Mexico, or London, Australia, Israel. So I get a chance to see people. But right here in this room, in this stadium, I see the brightest minds all collected here under the concept of first. And I'm so honored to be here with, you know, tomorrow's problem solvers, leaders, educators, bringers of new things. This is what it's all about. And we're in a transition in the world where popular culture tomorrow is being defined today. And somewhere in this room is tomorrow's superstar. May not be a performer or an athlete, but tomorrow looks a lot like 1920, where tomorrow's superstar is going to be an Edison and a Tesla. And I see that. And you guys inspire me to want to go back to school to learn computer science so I could be a part of that conversation and compete with one of you 15-year-olds, 17-year-olds. I may be 37, oops, 38. But deep down inside, I'm no different than you guys with the passion and the vision to discipline myself and, you know, put myself through all the, you know, rigorous, you know, training so I can contribute to society. And it's you guys and Dean Kamen and Woody that's inspired me to want to take on that task, change myself. And I thank you guys for having me here and welcoming in your community. And I'm gonna go on and continue to spread first and the urgency that we all face, not just in this country, but other countries as well. And because I'm a proud American, all the American First teams, thank you so much for being an example of what every single American city should be.
want to hear what Will has to say. Noon, in the ballroom. We also have a couple of other very special guests that'll be on stage there, and some really fun goodie bags for all Dean's List students. So let's have a great competition.